The hard hat sat unused beside the man's feet as Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson talked about redefining strength and the courage it takes to show vulnerability. Ellen was discussing the superstar's latest film when she noticed the construction worker in the third row staring at his bandaged hands while tears streamed down his weathered face. What happened next would prove that sometimes the greatest strength isn't lifting heavy weights or playing tough guys, but admitting when you're broken and asking your family to help carry the load you can't bear alone. It was a dynamic Wednesday afternoon at the Ellen DeGeneres Show, and the studio buzzed with powerful energy. 400 audience members had gathered to see one of Hollywood's most beloved action stars discuss his latest work. Ellen, commanding in a bold steel gray blazer with subtle blue accents, was thoroughly enjoying her conversation with Dwayne Johnson, who filled the guest chair with his trademark presence, wearing a perfectly tailored charcoal suit that couldn't hide the working-class authenticity that had made him more than just an action hero, his warmth and vulnerability making him a father figure to millions. "Dwayne," Ellen said, leaning forward with genuine respect, "you've been so open about mental health, about the pressure men feel to always be strong, always be the provider. What message do you want to send to fathers who are struggling?" Dwayne's expression grew serious, his famous smile taking on that thoughtful quality that revealed the depth beneath the Hollywood exterior. "Ellen, I think we've got masculinity all wrong. We teach men that strength means never showing weakness, never asking for help, never admitting when we're scared or lost. But real strength is being vulnerable with your family, letting them see you struggle, and trusting them to love you through it." The audience listened with the kind of reverent attention that Dwayne's authenticity commanded. This wasn't typical celebrity promotion. This was real conversation about modern masculinity and fatherhood. "And the provider pressure," Ellen continued, "that expectation that men have to be the rock for everyone else. How do you handle that?" "It's crushing," Dwayne said honestly. "Every man I know feels the weight of being responsible for everyone else's security, everyone else's happiness. But sometimes life throws you something you can't muscle through, can't overcome with willpower alone. That's when you learn that being a man isn't about carrying everything yourself. It's about building a team that can carry things together." That's when Ellen noticed him. In the third row, slightly to the left, sat a man who appeared to be in his early 40s. He had graying hair, work-worn hands wrapped in medical bandages, and wore a simple blue flannel shirt over jeans. Beside his feet sat a yellow hard hat that clearly hadn't been worn in months. His name was Tony Ramirez, though Ellen didn't know it yet. What caught Ellen's attention was the way Tony was staring at his injured hands while Dwayne spoke about struggling and asking for help, tears streaming silently down his face as he flexed fingers that clearly caused him pain. Tony's shoulders were slumped forward in defeat, and Ellen could see him repeatedly trying to make fists, testing whether his hands still worked the way a construction worker needed them to. Ellen's instincts, sharpened through 20 years of reading her audiences, told her this wasn't someone inspired by Dwayne's message about vulnerability. This was someone living the exact crisis Dwayne was describing. "Dwayne," Ellen said gently, "hold that thought about life throwing you something you can't muscle through. I think someone in our audience is facing exactly that situation right now." Dwayne followed Ellen's gaze toward Tony, his expression immediately shifting from entertainer to deeply concerned human being, as he recognized the signs of a man wrestling with circumstances beyond his control. Ellen stood up from her chair and took several steps toward the audience. "Sir in the third row with the hard hat, are you okay?" Tony looked up, startled and ashamed by the sudden attention of 400 people and multiple cameras. He quickly tried to hide his bandaged hands and straighten his shoulders, falling back into the defensive posture of a man taught never to show weakness. "I'm fine," Tony said, his voice rough with emotion and carrying the accent of someone who'd worked with his hands his entire life. "Sorry, I shouldn't be. This is supposed to be inspiring." Ellen walked down the steps that separated the stage from the audience, something she did only when every instinct told her someone was drowning in circumstances they couldn't control. "What's your name?" Ellen asked, now standing directly in front of Tony's row. "Tony Ramirez. I've been a construction foreman for 22 years. Ellen knelt down in the aisle beside Tony's row, her steel gray blazer spreading around her as she created a safe space in what must have felt like overwhelming vulnerability. "Tony, tell me about your hands." Tony looked down at the medical bandages, then back up at Ellen with such raw shame that it made everyone in the studio understand they were witnessing a man's identity crisis in real time. Accident 6 months ago. Scaffolding collapsed, crushed both hands, damaged nerves. Doctor says I'll never have full use of them again. Can't grip tools, can't do the work I've done my whole life. The studio fell into that particular silence that happens when hundreds of people confront the reality of a man whose purpose has been stripped away along with his ability to work. From the stage, Dwayne Johnson stood up immediately. Without being asked, without consulting producers, he walked down to join Ellen and Tony. This celebrity interview had just become something infinitely more important. Dwayne approached Tony with the careful respect of someone who understood that some battles cut deeper than physical injury. "Tony," Dwayne said, his voice carrying that authority that made him believable as both an action hero and a father figure. 22 years as a foreman. That's serious responsibility. Tell me about your crew." "Had a crew of 15 guys," Tony replied, his voice growing stronger despite his pain. "We built office buildings, schools, hospitals. I was good at it, you know? Keeping everyone safe, making sure the job got done right. I was the guy people depended on." Dwayne knelt beside Ellen, creating an intimate circle that acknowledged Tony's leadership while offering support. "And now?" Dwayne asked gently. Tony's composure cracked completely. "Now I can't even help my wife carry groceries. Can't teach my teenage son how to fix things around the house. I sit at home collecting disability while my family works to support me, and I feel like I'm not a man anymore." Ellen felt tears welling in her own eyes as she watched this exchange unfold. "Tony, what does being a man mean to you?" Ellen asked gently. "Providing for your family, protecting them, being the one they can count on when things get tough. But I can't do any of that anymore. Some days I think they'd be better off without me." His voice dropped to a whisper. "Some days I wonder what the point is." Dwayne's expression had shifted into something Ellen had rarely seen from any celebrity, a fierce combination of recognition and protective determination. "Tony, I want you to listen to me very carefully," Dwayne said with quiet intensity. "For 22 years, you kept 15 men safe on dangerous job sites. You built structures that will be standing long after we're gone. That doesn't disappear because your hands got injured." Tony looked up at Dwayne with something approaching hope for the first time since the conversation began. "But I can't work anymore. I can't provide. What kind of man can't provide for his family?" "The kind of man who spent 22 years providing," Dwayne said firmly. "The kind of man who built his family's security one paycheck at a time, who taught his son work ethic by example, who showed his wife what dependability looks like. That man is still in there, Tony. He's just figuring out how to contribute in a different way." Ellen stood up slowly, her heart breaking for this man who was grieving the loss of his former self. "Tony, have you talked to your family about how you're feeling?" Tony shook his head. "Men in my family don't burden others with their problems. We figure it out, we work harder, we don't complain." "And how's that working for you?" Dwayne asked with gentle directness. "It's not," Tony admitted. "I'm depressed, angry, feeling useless. My wife keeps trying to tell me I'm still the same man, but I can't hear her because all I see is what I can't do anymore." Dwayne reached into his jacket pocket and pulled out something unexpected. His personal phone. "Tony," Dwayne said, "I'm going to give you the number of someone who helps men transition after career-ending injuries. He's former military, understands what it's like when your identity gets tied up in what you can physically do." He pressed the card into Tony's bandaged hand. "But more than that, I want you to call your wife tonight. I want you to tell her exactly what you told us. Not because you're weak, but because you're strong enough to let her help carry this weight." Ellen began removing her steel gray blazer. "Tony, this blazer has been with me through some of my most important interviews, but today it's witnessing something more important than any celebrity story. It's witnessing real courage." She placed the blazer around Tony's shoulders. "You came here today feeling like you're not the man you used to be, but the man sitting here, worried about his family, questioning his worth, fighting through pain to figure out his new purpose, that's still a man worth respecting." But it was Dwayne's next words that broke through Tony's despair completely. "Tony, I want you to know something. Every hero I've ever played, every character people remember, they all had one thing in common. They got knocked down. Hard. And the moment that made them heroes wasn't when they were winning. It was when they stopped trying to carry everything alone and let other people help them get back up." Dwayne stood up and addressed the cameras directly. "If there are men watching this who've been injured, who've lost work, who feel like they're not the providers they used to be, please know that your worth isn't measured in what you can lift or build. It's measured in how you love your family, how you show up even when you're hurting, how you teach the next generation what real strength looks like." The moment that brought the entire studio to sustained applause came when Ellen asked Tony what he wanted other injured workers to know. "I want them to know that we're not broken. We're just different now," Tony said, his voice growing stronger as he looked at his bandaged hands. "And maybe being different means we get to show our kids that real men ask for help. That real strength sometimes looks like admitting you can't do it all anymore." Dwayne's eyes filled with tears. "That's exactly right, Tony. You're not less of a man. You're a man learning a new way to be strong." 3 months later, Tony Ramirez appeared on the Ellen DeGeneres show again, but this time he was accompanied by his wife and teenage son, who spoke about how their father's vulnerability had brought their family closer than ever. Tony had started a support group for injured construction workers and was training to become a safety inspector, using his experience to protect other workers. Dwayne Johnson, who had stayed in regular contact with Tony, appeared via video to celebrate their progress and announce the launch of a foundation specifically designed to help manual laborers transition after career-ending injuries. The segment sparked a national conversation about masculinity, identity, and the mental health challenges faced by men whose careers are ended by injury or illness. Tony became an advocate for worker mental health and redefining masculine strength, speaking at construction sites about the importance of vulnerability and seeking help. Ellen learned that day that her job wasn't to interview famous people about their latest projects. Her job was to create moments where traditional masculinity could be challenged, where strength could be redefined, and where men could learn that admitting weakness is actually the strongest thing they can do. Dwayne Johnson learned that the most important heroic moments happen not on movie sets, but in living rooms where real men facing real challenges choose vulnerability over isolation and discover that asking for help is the most courageous thing they can do. And Tony Ramirez learned that sometimes when you think you've lost everything that made you a man, that's exactly when you discover what being a man really means. And it has nothing to do with what you can build with your hands and everything to do with how you build your family with your heart. Because the most powerful heroes aren't the ones who never get hurt. They're the ones who get hurt, ask for help, and show other men that there's more than one way to be strong, more than one way to provide, more than one way to be the rock your family needs.